Hey guys, welcome to Mad Scientist BBQ. I'm Erica Yoder, and today we're going to do something that I thought of because I had a brisket cook go wrong. Today, instead of wrapping, we're going to try confiting a brisket to finish the process. As you can see behind me, I have a new pit. It's a TMG Volunteer. It's really well built. I really like it. And so I went out and got a brisket and was doing some testing with this pit. So I went to Costco because typically what I like to do is I like to use meat that everyone has access to because there are Costco's all over the country. And there's a good chance that if you have a brisket you can find locally, you can go to Costco and pick one up. Now, unfortunately for me, at my Costco, they haven't had prime briskets in a long time, and they didn't even have briskets for a long time, but I went and they had some whole briskets. They were choice, so I thought, let me give it a shot. And I realized that, no offense to Costco, those briskets are absolute trash. So all the ones that I found, they had thin flats, they had horrible marbling, they were labeled choice, but they were just about the worst looking choice briskets I've ever seen. So I thought, let me at least try it. So I tried it, I put it on the smoker, and I could tell that it was drying out and it just really wasn't good. And when it came about time to wrap, I realized, geez, a wrap isn't even going to save this thing. I mean, it'll be okay, but I babied this thing. I was trying to get it to be perfect, and the smoker was doing what I wanted it to, so I was just kind of left at a loss of like how to save this thing. And then I thought, well, ideally, I could just confit this brisket instead of wrapping, and that will give it maximum juiciness. It'll be surrounded in fat. It'll be like no evaporative cooling. We'll get this cook finished off and keep it in the moistest environment possible. Is that a word, moistest? I don't know. But in the most moist environment I could possibly think of, because when you get nice barky beef cheeks and you confit them to finish them, they're amazing. So I thought, well, I got lots of beef tallow lying around, so why don't I try it? So what I'm going to do today is cook another of these Costco choice briskets that I really don't like, and I'm going to be comparing it to Creekstone choice, which they're both choice, but Creekstone is a known quantity. I've cooked with them a bunch of times. They're great quality briskets. I know for sure if I get a case of Creekstone Prime from my meat supplier, it's going to do exactly what I need it to do, and the product is going to be great. In addition, places like Goldie's use Creekstone choice, and basically all the barbecue restaurants that you know of in Texas, if they can get Creekstone, that's what they get. So this is going to be a good base of comparison to see if I can take a kind of crummy brisket and save it with confit. Future Jeremy here, I just realized that some of you guys might not know what confit is. And I didn't know what it was until, I don't know, a handful of years ago. Basically, confit is cooking something in fat. So in this case, we're using beef tallow, Wagyu beef tallow from South Chicago Packing, the same stuff I always use. But rather than deep frying, we're not really frying at all. The temperature is much lower. So it's just going to be sitting in that Wagyu tallow and gently being brought up to temperature rather than high heat that you would like throw it in a fryer and it browns on the outside. So it's a very gentle cooking process where it's surrounded by fat. So hopefully it should make it as juicy as possible. Now, the other thing that's important about it being surrounded in fat, unlike water, which could hydrate the bark and wash it away, the fat should hopefully keep everything in place once it's barked up properly. So it should help retain a lot of water in there, but it's not going to be surrounding it with water to wash away the bark. Hopefully, this is going to be the secret to the juiciest brisket of all time. We're going to find out. It could be a complete disaster. Who knows? But I'm willing to experiment and find out for you. Okay, we have our Costco choice brisket right here. And the best thing I can say about it is that it's $3.49 a pound, which is a reasonable price. But I remember back in the day, you could get Costco prime briskets for $2.99 a pound. But I think those days are long gone. I don't think they're ever going to come back. We could dream. So let me open this up, and we will get started. And badunk. Oh, wonderful. So taking a look at this thing, doesn't really look great. It wasn't really particularly cut the way I like it to be from the processor. I'm going to trim it up as best I can. We'll season it, we'll put it on the smoker, and we'll do the same with the Creekstone Prime, or Creekstone Choice. All right, I'm going to flip it around, and there's a little bald spot here on the side. We'll get there, but I'm going to start on this side because this is the ugliest side. As you guys can see right here, there is not very much marbling in this lean at all, which is kind of, I think, one of the reasons why that other one just really didn't turn out the way I wanted. I've cooked a lot of briskets in my life, but that one was probably the most disappointing. So let's see if we can rescue a crummy brisket. All right, I just had a realization on the fly. I don't know why I'm comparing this one to a Creekstone brisket, because you guys don't know what this would be like if we didn't confit it. And I actually have another Costco choice brisket in the fridge, so I'm going to compare them to each other, because that way it's going to be a more fair comparison, because it's like the same kind of brisket and we're going to treat them two different ways. So instead of going to get a Creekstone brisket, I'm going to get another Costco choice brisket. And thank you to my wife Erica for suggesting that. She was saying, I don't know why you're comparing it to the Creekstone, because the only way to really know if this works is if you compare it to another one of the Costco briskets. So I'm like, I should know this. I have a science degree. Yeah, so that was dumb. I don't know why I thought that was a good idea. So 2 Costco choice briskets are going to be in the comparison to clear up any of the confusion. Erica might even be able to edit out me being a moron and saying I'm going to compare it to Creekstone choice. But regardless, that's what we're going to do. So this one's ready to go. I'm going to go get the other choice brisket from Costco and do the same thing. Then we'll season these up and put them on. Okay, it's time to season. I'm going salt, pepper, and a little bit of Lowry's, because these things need all the help they can get, so I'm gonna pull out all the stops. I'm doing salt separately on this one because I'm adding Lowry's. I wanna make sure that I'm not over salting so I can independently regulate all of them. So salt goes on, pepper goes on, and then just on the fat side, a little bit of Lowry's. I learned that trick from one Jerby from Goldie's, so I'm gonna try that here and see how it works. 16 mesh black pepper. Other side. And now the Lowry's. See if I can get this pretty even, hopefully. It's all in the wrist and in the height. The plan is we're going to start off nice and low, 200 to 225 for a couple of hours. Then we're going to bump to 250 for a couple of hours. And at that point, we're going to go 275 and really work on rendering the fat, which was a problem with the last choice briskets I got from Costco. So hopefully they'll be in good shape when it comes time to wrap or confit. These Costco briskets have been on for about 8 hours at this point. And when I open up the pit, you'll notice that there is a third brisket. So I decided to cook a Creekstone brisket after all, because I have one Costco brisket that can be baseline, one that's confit so I can compare them one to another, and then finally the Creekstone brisket so I can see if I can take that cheap Costco brisket and make it cook like something more expensive. So it's been about 8 hours on those 2 Costco briskets, only about 6 hours on the Creekstone brisket, so that's going to have to go a little further. But let's take a look inside the pit and see if they're ready to wrap and confit. Let's see. Oh yeah. This one still needs more time for sure. This one is getting close, but not there yet. This one's also pretty close. So we have Costco, Costco, Creekstone. I'm letting Erica decide because I don't want to be biased. I want her to just choose randomly. And so 1 or 2.
Just ask Siri.
Oh, I'll ask Siri. It's so smart. Heads, tails.
So number 1 is heads, number 2 is tails?
Sure. Siri, heads or tails?
It's heads this time.
It's heads this time. Confit. Confit.
Do you have any thoughts on this smoker so far?
Thoughts on the smoker? Yeah, I made a couple adjustments to it, but the way it's set up now, it is purring along beautifully. It just stays. Right now I'm cooking at 275, which isn't exactly where I'd be on this Creekstone brisket, but I'm trying to get it done. So I'm a little further along in terms of temperature than I normally would be, but I'm trying to keep it at 275, pegged 275, creating lots of bark, lots of smoke flavor, hopefully. I'm very happy about this. Also, if I put the top rack in the smoker, I could fit probably 10 of those Costco choice briskets inside here. I don't know exactly how they'd cook right next to the firebox, but that's something I'm gonna do before I'm finished testing it. But initial impressions, very, very nice. Ugh, you never get used to the smoke in your eyes. Jeez. I asked Franklin about that. He was like, no, you never get used to it. Man, it's like I'm getting emotional here. I love this thing so much. It's so special. It's a great smoker. I'm gonna put it to its paces even more, but I'm really liking it so far. It's the TMG Volunteer, by the way. I don't think I mentioned, maybe I mentioned that, but it's been hours. So anyway, I gotta stop letting these things cool down, and I gotta get the confit ready, and I have to get the wrap ready, and then I have a cool thing to show you guys that I'm really, really excited about. But that will come when it's time to rest. So I'm gonna go get some tallow, I'm gonna go get a hotel pan, and we'll get this thing rolling. Actually, I take it back, I lied. I'm gonna wrap the one first because I don't want it to slow down anymore. So let's get ready. I'm gonna use a generous helping. All right. Let's take a look at this guy. It's barky. That's rendering. And I gotta roll this guy out before all this tallow melts. Upside down. This little guy, a little barky meteorite here. Yeah, if that wants to give, I dig it. See if we can bring this guy back. It's a little crispy on this edge. There's just really no marbling in there to speak of, so this thing really needs all the help it can get. Stainless steel hotel pan. Industrial size Wagyu tallow. Thank you, South Chicago Packing. But what I'm going to do is get the brisket, put it in here, then cover it with the tallow. A little barky meteorite goodness here. Center. Good boy. Oh, this is heavy. Okay, here we go. Tallow. A lot of tallow. Bathed in tallow. I may have washed away some of the bark pouring it directly on there.
I was wondering that.
Why did I pour it directly on the brisket? That was dumb. It looks a little bit lighter. I think I actually knocked off some of the fat. It's probably in there floating somewhere. So don't pour directly on the brisket like I did. Don't be a knucklehead like me. All right, back on the smoker. Ugh. All right, so I'm gonna do the very same thing I did with the first brisket, that is wrap it in paper and tallow with that Creekstone choice brisket in probably about 2 hours. I don't know if we're gonna do that on camera, but when these are done, we're gonna pull them off and then I'm gonna show you how I'm gonna rest them, which is something I'm really excited about. All right, it's the next day. Everything finished really late and Erica was asleep, so I thought I will do the nice husbandly thing. I just made up another word and let her keep sleeping. We just deal with it in the morning. But in order to keep everything at the peak of freshness, nice and rested, I put those 3 briskets in this food warmer, which I'm really excited about. I found this thing online. I'll put a link in the description. Basically, whenever you go to any restaurant in Texas, they always have their food resting for multiple hours. So like their briskets are probably 8, 12, maybe even 15 hours that they're resting in the warmer. And most of those warmers are like 12, 14 grand. And I was like, yeah, it's just not really feasible for somebody who's cooking in his or her backyard. So I found this, I think it was 350 bucks. I couldn't believe it. And so far it's been working like a champ. So let's open it up and I'll show you a little bit about how it works. This thing couldn't be much easier to use. You turn the on switch to on, and then you set the temperature. You hit set and then adjust it and then hit set again. And it's been holding temperature plus or minus about 3 degrees for the last 12 hours. Really, I couldn't be any happier. I mean, it's been working great. So let's take a look at these briskets. Right here we have our confit brisket, and then we have the other 2 briskets sitting in this tray. There are more trays that slide in and out, but I took those out because we're not using them. So let's start with the basic Costco choice brisket that I wasn't very happy with. Then we'll compare it to the confit brisket. Then finally with the Creekstone choice that we know is something that's really tasty. So let's get out the let's get out the Costco choice. For the comparison, we're going to keep it really simple. I'm going to cut it open. I'll separate the point and flat, and then I'll cut open the point just to see how juicy it is, and then we're going to do a simple taste test. So let's pull this guy out. Not super juicy, kind of mealy. Fat's rendered okay, not great. Could be worse. Just don't like the texture of this flat. Here we have the fat, again rendered okay. This is rendered out pretty well. Just don't really like the texture of this. We'll compare burn ends, give them the best chance to have it flavored. That's sample 1. Sample 2, Confit Brisket. This is heavy. Oh gosh.
Looks like a rock at the bottom of the river.
Kind of. Hopefully it tastes better than the rock. Oh, doesn't look bad. Juicy. We don't need to pour any tallow over the top of this thing. That looks pretty juicy. This does look significantly better. The bark was well maintained. Fat's rendered pretty well. It's a little overcooked, probably because when it was done, it stayed in that hot liquid and didn't cool as quickly. So it's probably, 200 plus degrees for too long. If I did it again, when it's done, I'd pull it out. I'd probably wrap it in foil and then let it cool and then place it back in the fat to rest. But it's what you learn from doing these experiments. These look really good, unbelievably juicy. I'm really looking forward to that. We'll set that aside. Lastly, Creekstone Choice. Ta-da! There's some juice spilling out. Yeah, I mean, look at that. That's just, the whole thing is juicy. The flat has way better texture. It's pretty stark difference. Let's cut this in half and see. Really juicy. This one's a little bit over, but learning a new cooker, it happens. But the flat is done perfectly. I really like the look of this. I mean, you can see how juicy this is, and this is just a choice brisket. This was treated the exact same way that the Costco brisket was, that we just wrapped in paper. But, I mean, just look at the juiciness. This wasn't cone feed. This wasn't, nothing special was done to it. My standard process on a brand new pit. So, I'm really happy with the bark. Here we have the burnt end portion there. Really juicy. The fat's rendered beautifully. This is going to be really, really tasty. Okay, regular Costco choice. Bark is good. Just a weird texture. Seasoning is good. It's just like the beef has no flavor. Could be juicier. Okay, I think I know what it is. It has the backbone of good barbecue flavor. There's no underlying core of beef taste in there. Here we have our Confit Brisket. Way better, a lot richer. I taste the tallow a lot, which is good, but again, I'm searching for the beef flavor. If I scored the first one on a scale of 1 to 100, I'd give it maybe a C+. This one, I'd say it's a B+ effort. Super, super juicy, but I'm still wanting that underlying core of beef flavor that's just not coming through. Confit makes it super, super juicy, but let's see how it stacks up in comparison to something I'm used to here. Here we have our Creekstone Choice. Not fancy, but a known quantity. That's delightful. So good. Not as juicy as the last one. Okay, so if I were scoring that, I'd give that probably a 94 out of 100. It's not as juicy as the last one. The last one is crazy, crazy juicy. The only thing I think I've ever eaten that was that juicy was the bone-in brisket, where it had a layer of fat below it and on top of it. That was Wagyu as well. The richness of the beef flavor, you get smoke, you get salt, you get pepper, it's just everything. But my official taste tester is my wife, Erica. She is the most precise taster I think I've ever known. So let's have her try these. Here's regular Costco.
Wow.
What do you think?
That's so good.
You like the regular Costco one?
That was so good.
Okay, well,
I was definitely not expecting that. It was so good.
okay, so Erica says that the regular Costco choice is so good. Wow, that's so... I disagree. One thing you guys are going to find out is that you're the harshest critic on your own cooking. So I've cooked stuff lots of times where I'm like, oh, I wish it could have been better. I'm not really happy with this, but people love it. And then there are other times where I'm like, dude, I absolutely nailed it. I don't think I've ever cooked a better brisket in my entire life. And then people love it. They react the same way. It's the exact same response, whether it's my best cook or like the worst cook I've had in months, which is frustrating because I know the difference. It's just for most people, if it's smoky and it's tender, they're going to be like, oh, it's great. But what about the beef flavor in there, Erica? What do you think?
It reminded me of bacon. Definitely tastes smoke flavor on it. It was so good, I thought.
Yeah, but did it have beefiness? Because I'm not after bacon when I'm making brisket. I'm after brisket.
I don't know. It tasted like brisket to me. I don't know.
To me, it tastes just like generic meat. Whereas, like, if you eat a steak versus a pork chop, you can taste, oh, this is definitely beef. Not just in terms of texture, but in terms of flavor. Here is confit.
Confit. This one was tougher.
I'm talking about flavor.
I like the other one better.
You like the other one better?
Yeah.
What about juiciness?
More obvious tallow, but I like the other one better.
After careful deliberations, I've come to some conclusions. Number one, I don't think I'm ever going to buy Costco choice briskets again. Just really not happy with them. Number two, by putting the second Costco brisket in the tallow and, you know, cooking it confit, it was crazy juicy. So if I'm ever doing a brisket flat or anything where it's particularly lean, that would be the way to save it, because it took something that was comparatively dry and made it crazy, crazy moist. So very happy about that. And then the third one is just that beef flavor that you get from something that's Angus beef that's been raised properly is just hard to beat. When I think of what I want in a burnt end, it tastes like this Creekstone burnt end. Just really, really good. So the confit, that's what the point of this video is. We're gonna test it out. It makes it super, super juicy. It can make it, I think, maybe almost too rich. So instead of leaving it in the fat, I'd probably, when it's done cooking, take it out to avoid overcooking, number one. And number two is so that it's not just completely covered in the tallow the whole time it's resting, so that it's not an overdose of tallow when you take the bites of the brisket. So cook to completion, take it out, wrap it in foil, throw a little bit of tallow there underneath, and then put it in the warmer to rest. Last conclusion is this warmer is the freaking bomb. I'm 100% going to use it. You guys are going to see it in like all my videos from now on. So instead of like trying to maintain temps on the smoker or take it inside and make the whole house smell like barbecue, I'm just going to fire this thing up, which is click it on, hit set, rock and roll. I'll put it in there. You guys have no idea how happy I am. It goes from 100 degrees to 177 degrees. Any kind of hot holding, it's going to happen right here. It fits full-size hotel pan. I'm thrilled. Anyway, the point is, confit for your brisket does work. It is by far the juiciest method I've ever attempted when it comes to finishing off a brisket. It's juicier than throwing some tallow in there. It's juicier than beef broth. It's juicier than any other method. So if you're having problems with your brisket being dry, this is the way to do it. Now, it's a lot of beef tallow that goes in there, but I could take this and put it in some kind of container, put it back in the fridge. I really added too much beef tallow, and you could use a smaller container unless your brisket is huge. So those are the things that I've learned. Am I going to try it again? 100% yes. Thinking, well, maybe what about ribs confit, right? Rather than glazing them, or maybe in addition to glazing them. So many possibilities. I'm going to make several videos in the future testing this out just to see what its limits are, what its strengths and weaknesses are. But initial impressions are it's a valuable tool, and I will definitely be using it again. If this video was helpful to you, you can hit the like button down below, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. You can also follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at Mad Scientist BBQ. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you learned something. I know I did. And I'll see you guys next time. It's so obvious. Look at this Creekstone fat. You see how it's like almost clear? And it's starting to separate from the muscle fibers. You see that?
Yeah.
Yeah. You can't beat that with a stick, Erica.
I don't know. That Costco choice was really good.
The Costco choice was garbage. I'd like to think that I'm really good and the Costco choice is not that great. But
It is. That's what it was. The way you
well,
cook
no,
it.
see, you were tasting the smokiness and you get the salt and pepper and it's tender, right? But in terms of the flavor of the meat itself, and it wasn't nearly as juicy.
I tasted the flavor of what I'm tasting is the smoke and the salt and the tenderness.
Yeah, but I want
I can't
beef
tell.
flavor.
I don't know. I thought that is what beef tastes. I was eating beef. That's what beef tastes like.
We're eating beef, but this just has such a rich flavor that instead of getting overwhelmed by the smoke and the salt, it complements it. It's like, oh, perfect. It's like everything.
No,
Okay?
I liked the choice.
I don't know. You're really straining our relationship right now.
Let me taste that one again.
Okay. All right. I'll give you just a small piece.
Yeah, because I just was tasting so much salt on the other ones.
What do you think?
So good.
It's better. It's like significantly better.
Yeah, there's definitely flavor in just that part. Not
Just
the
see,
outside.
thank you. There's flavor in the
Do we have any
beef.
more of the Costco? Here, let me taste this one.
What?
It tastes like formaldehyde.
Yeah. It tastes weird.
I mean,
It just tastes like weird generic meat.
Yeah, it tastes like. I don't know why I'm reminded of formaldehyde. but not like, just like pure formaldehyde. It's like someone put a drop of formaldehyde in there.
Yeah, it's like a drop in like a swimming pool, but it's just this weird off taste
Yeah.
in that beef. Not like it's spoiled, but it's just not good.
Yeah, it's not as good.
Yeah.
But
see, so what you were tasting was the smoke, like all the stuff that went into the bark, the salt, the pepper, right? And it was tender, but the flavor of the beef was trash.
But
I did everything I could to make it good, but it's just the underlying quality of meat lets it down.
Yeah.
Because
but this video was not about
it's
the
about
quality of the meat. It wasn't choice versus prime.
it was choice versus choice confit.
Yeah.
And the confit way juicier, like you could see it on the camera. It was
Yeah.
way juicier, right? And so
Yeah, it was juicier.
So that was the proof of concept that we were after. So we put it in the confit. Does it make it juicier? Way juicier. Like night and day, light years different. Juicier. The meat still sucks.
But no.
But it's
the
way
thing is,
juicier.
They still tasted really good, all of them.